What's up, guys? So we know that Keefe D is on trial for the unaliving of Tupac Shakur. I'm going to explain to you why it's a matter of formality. He's actually going to be found guilty on this, and he did not have to pull the trigger. The prosecutors in this case, they don't have to prove to the jury that Keefe D pulled the trigger. They do not have to prove it. They only have to prove a few things, and we're going to go from there. Hold on one second. All right, so what I'm going to do is give you a full breakdown on this and give you the real reason why Keefe D is in trouble. Okay, he's already had a proffer agreement, and he's already admitted to a lot of things. He's already written a book. He's done a lot of things here. So it's something he broke the proffer agreement somewhere. That's the only thing I have a little bit of. We're going to get into it. I did some research, but so let me just say this. Prosecutors do not have to prove, guys, that Dwayne, his name is Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, pulled the trigger. Nevada law allows someone who allegedly organized, encouraged, supplied the weapon for, or otherwise aided a murder to be prosecuted as a principal in the murder itself. Now, let me say this, just we following the case of Nolan Wells out of Mississippi, that could come up again. We might hear this again if that case turned criminal. Multiple people get arrested for that, because I honestly believe he was unalive. And there's some jockeying going on behind the scenes right now. There's a lot of panic going on down there. I know it is. But let's get back to Keefe D. So as of August 10th, the jury selection has begun, guys, in Las Vegas. We know Keefe already pleaded not guilty. He's 63 years old, but we're going to talk about what exactly is he being charged with, and we'll go from there. Because Keefe D he's in trouble, and he's already 63. This is essentially a life sentence for him. So he's 63 years old. He faces one count of murder with the use of a deadly weapon, with the intent to promote, further, or assist a criminal gang in connection with Tupac Shakur's death. So let me stop right there. He's already said what happened when he was on Vlad TV. Let me ask you guys a question. If you were involved in a high profile murder, right? Would you go on Vlad TV and talk about it? Does that make good sense? Now, he's probably thinking he signed a proffer agreement, he would never be charged with the murder. But guess what? He's on jury selection right now for this murder. So the grand jury proceedings identify the alleged offense the same way: murder with the use of a deadly weapon with the intent to promote, further, or assist a criminal gang. Tupac, I remember this, he was shot on September 7th, 1996, okay, while riding in a BMW driven by Marion Suge Knight near Las Vegas Strip. Tupac died 6 days later. The state alleges that the shooting grew out of a confrontation earlier that evening at the MGM Grand, where Tupac and others attacked Davis' nephew, Orlando Baby Lane Anderson. Prosecutors contend The subsequent shooting was retaliation. Now, the fact of the matter is, there was a confrontation. It was right after the Mike Tyson fight, and Tupac participated in it. It's all on camera. Do prosecutors have to prove Keefe D fired the gun? Here we go. No. This may be the most important issue right here for everybody. They don't have to prove that he pulled the trigger. They don't have to prove it. This man is done. They don't have to prove. He already admitted to it in his interviews with Vlad. And I bet you they're going to have the Vlad interviews in court. I bet you they are. And writing a book. So he told on himself, this is a matter of formality. Keefe's done. He's done, guys. Remember, I said there's no statute of limitations on murder. Tupac died in 96. And Tupac wasn't even out that long before he passed away. He did a lot of body of work, but he wasn't out that long. Me and my ex-girlfriend went to the Budweiser Superfest. I believe it was in 93. Big Daddy Kane was the headliner. That's that famous soundbite. Where Brooklyn at? Where Brooklyn at? And then he brought Tupac out, and then him and Biggie did a freestyle. Okay. They both were on stage together. And then the next couple years, that was in 93. He only had 3 years left to live. Tupac was not out that long. He was not out that long, guys. And he did a whole lot of work. He was not out that long, man. I mean, he was out with the Digital Underground. He started out as a dancer and a roadie for the Digital Underground. So Nevada's principal and accomplice statute, remember this, the Nevada's principal / accomplice statute says a person can be treated as a principal if he directly commits the crime, aids or abets it, counsels or encourages it, commands it, induces it, hires someone to do it, or otherwise help procure its commission. He's already admitted to helping procure the commission. So this is just a matter of formality at this point for him, meaning that he's everybody's entitled to that due process, like David is. We know David's guilty, but he's entitled to his due process. And the statute specifically says the person may be treated as a principal, whether present or absent, when the crime occurs. So imagine 4 people are in a car. One person says, "We're going to get him." Another person obtains the gun. Someone drives the vehicle and someone else fires. If the prosecutors prove the appropriate intent and assistance required by Nevada law, the organizer doesn't get to say, "But I wasn't the shooter." This distinction is central to the prosecution. He's already admitted his doing in this. He wrote a book, which is going to be presented in court, I'm sure. He was on Vlad TV multiple times, bragging about it, how gangster he is. They were tired of him. So, in fact, prosecutors are not alleging Davis was the gunman. The AP reports that prosecutors intend to prove that Davis helped make the decisions that resulted in Tupac's killing and provided the gun to use in the attack. So stop right there. So the AP is reporting that they're not alleging that he was a gunman. But remember, he said he was a big guy in this whole game. Remember? Like he was the person that people went to. That's all they have to prove, man. And he's already said it on video. In fact, I'm gonna make a prediction here. Not only he gonna be found guilty in all charges, they're not gonna deliberate that long. This don't take long. So what does the prosecution's theory look like? Think of it as a chain of events. Step one, the MGM Grand fight. Early that evening, Tupac, Suge Knight, and members of their entourage were involved in a altercation with Orlando Anderson. Now, remember this, guys. All the people that was in the car that was involved in this is all dead. Even there was a theory that there's a theory that Puff paid money to have Tupac murdered. And they said he gave this person, they got it to this person named Eric Von Zip. And then Von Zip kept the money. He never paid Keefe D and them. They said he kept the money. So Keefe D don't have no proof that Diddy paid for this. And Von Zip is dead. He's no longer living either. Everybody that was associated with this murder are dead, except for Suge Knight and Keefe D. Everybody else is dead. Not everybody. There's a couple of the outlaws that's still alive, but even a few of them are passed away. But everybody that was in the car that was responsible for the shooting, everybody is dead except for Keefe D. So again, step one. Early that evening, Tupac, Suge Knight, and members of their entourage were involved in an altercation with Orlando Anderson. Anderson was Keefe D's nephew. The government argues that this provides the motive for retaliation. Step two, Keefe D allegedly takes charge. He said it already on Vlad TV. The prosecutor's theory is that Davis, well, let me stop. You know what he said? He was just embellishing stories to sell books and stuff like that. He said he was lying when he was talking to Vlad. The prosecutor's theory is that Davis was the leader within the Southside Compton Crips and was a senior figure among men involved. One expected prosecution witness, Devonta Lee, previously testified before a grand jury that Davis was effectively in charge and provided the weapon. Step three, they allegedly obtain a gun. This is potentially devastating evidence if the jury believes Davis' own accounts. His memoir, remember I said he wrote a book. His memoir describes obtaining a handgun from an associate. Davis' account says that he then passed and tossed the gun towards the back of the Cadillac. It's crucial. The state doesn't necessarily need Keefe D plus the trigger equals murder. Their case instead be Keefe D plus intent plus gun plus assistance / organization plus killing equals murder liability. Now, remember what Keefe D said in his Vlad TV interview? He said that he would have shot Tupac himself, but his cousin was on that side of the car. But if he was on that side, he would have one that actually did the shooting. So he's already admitted that that was their purpose of going to get Tupac. That's why I say that this is a matter of formality. Even though he's guilty until proven, he's innocent until proven guilty, but it's just a matter of formality, meaning that he's due his due process. That's it. Who was he pretty much what I'm saying is he self-snitched. Who was allegedly inside the Cadillac? The prosecutor's account places 4 men in the white Cadillac. Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, Orlando Baby Lane Anderson, which is Davis' nephew, DeAndre Freaky Smith, he's dead. Also, Orlando Anderson is dead. And Terry Bubble Up Brown, he's dead. All 3 men are now dead. Only person is alive is Keefe D. And that's one of the things that makes this trial unusual. Keefe D is essentially the last surviving alleged occupant in the Cadillac. Who actually shot Tupac? Well, Keefe D talks about it. This could remain unresolved even after the trial, which, yes, it could be. For years, Orlando Anderson has often been identified publicly as a suspected shooter. but he was never charged with Tupac's murder and died in an unrelated gang shooting in 1998. This is also another version. The grand jury witness, Devonta Lee, testified that Anderson allegedly didn't have a clear shot and that DeAndre Smith took the gun and fired. That's why the prosecution can essentially tell the jury, you don't have to solve the 30-year-old mystery of which backseat passenger fired the bullets to decide whether Davis helped commit the murder. So they just have to decide whether he helped commit the murder. That's it. What does the prosecution have to prove again? There is where I have the focus here is Davis as someone who allegedly participated, orchestrated the killing, rather as the actual shooter. Prosecutors don't have to prove that he's the actual shooter. Prosecutors will attempt to show that Davis knowingly and intentionally assisted, encouraged, procured, and participated in the murder. Nevada's principal statute expressly makes aiders and abettors punishable as principals. It's the same thing in Texas. They call it the law of parties. So if you just know about it and somebody get killed, you get charged with murder and you can be put to death as well. It's called the law of parties. Keefe D know Tupac was going to be attacked. Did he know that? Did Keefe D know that Tupac was going to be attacked? Did he participate in deciding how to retaliate? Did he help locate Tupac? He's already said that he did. He was in the car. They were looking for him. They just happened to see Tupac. He said they just happened to see him. And he was talking, Tupac was talking to some girls, and that's how they found him. Did he obtain the murder weapon? He talked about it on Vlad already. Did he hand the weapon to someone knowing what it would be used for? He's already talked about it. Was he knowingly participating in the attack rather than merely riding in the vehicle? That's what he said. The strongest evidence against Keefe D may be Keefe D himself, like I just said. The case is fascinating because it isn't primarily a case where police suddenly discover DNA or the murder weapon 30 years later. Much of the prosecution's case comes from Davis' own words. He has spoken publicly about Tupac's killing for years. He participated in interviews, Vlad TV. He co-authored the 2019 memoir, Compton Street Legends. The book describes his involvement in surrounding the shooting and his alleged handling of the gun. And this summer, prosecutors scored two important evidentiary victories. The judge ruled that the statements from Davis' 2019 memoir can be presented. Guess what? You guessed it, to the jury. The judge also ruled that prosecutors can use a 2008 police interview in which Davis discussed the homicide. Davis had argued that the interview was protected because he cooperated under an agreement, but the judge allowed its use at trial. He had a proffer agreement. That's very significant, folks. The jury is merely going to hear police believe Keefe D did this, did that. They're going to hear prosecutors essentially say, listen to what Keefe D himself has repeatedly said happened. But the defense has a major response, though. I can't leave that out. The defense has been attacking the reliability, of those statements. Really, the admissibility of those statements, if you think about it. That's what they're contending, the admissibility of those statements. They don't think those statements should be used. Meaning that, you remember, he signed a proffer agreement. Davis' side has argued, among other things, that statements attributed to him were connected to protected cooperation. that some accounts were embellished or made for entertainment. He's already said this in his book. That's what he said when he was writing his book. He was embellishing, like I had said before. I said that embellished and made for entertainment, business purposes, and that the government lacked sufficient independent evidence tying him to Tupac's murder. This creates one of the biggest battles at the trial. So if they can convince the jury, guys, that Keefe was really embellishing this, and maybe we'll see what the jury says. But here's the thing: if they listen to his Vlad interview all the way through, they're gonna vote guilty. He practically bragged about it. That creates the biggest battles, guys. So the prosecutors, these are admissions of guilt. That's what they're gonna say. The defense, these are stories, exaggerations, improperly obtained statements, or unreliable accounts. Okay. The prosecution has the weakness you should watch. These are obvious evidentiary difficulties caused by the passage of almost 30 years. 3 of the 4 alleged occupants in the Cadillac are dead. But you're going to hear my reasoning in a minute. The identity of the shooter remains disputed. No, I know who the shooter is. Keefe D, the one said it. In my opinion, it's either Keefe D or his nephew that did it. Of course, he can put on his nephew because his nephew's dead. So of course he can say his nephew did it. But I think prosecutors suspect he did it. I suspect he did it too. But he gonna easily say his nephew did it to protect himself, Orlando Anderson. But Orlando Anderson is no longer here to defend himself. So we take Keefe D's word for it or not? But remember, the prosecutors don't have to prove that he pulled the trigger. And Suge Knight, the other person in Tupac's BMW and one of the only surviving eyewitnesses, has previously indicated that he does not want to testify. The AP reports that his testimony could be extremely important if he ultimately appears. Now, as of right now, he said he's not testifying, but what happens if the state say, hey, look, Suge, for your testimony, we'll essentially let you out of prison? What do you think he's going to do? We need this right here, Suge. We need this. We'll knock a lot of time off your time if you, but he said he's not testifying. So expect the defense to attack the lack of direct eyewitnesses, identification of Davis as the killer, lack of alleged shooter, the age of the witnesses' memories, changes or inconsistencies in people's stories, and especially whether Keefe D was telling the truth when he talked publicly about the case. Because he said he wasn't telling the truth. I don't believe that. I believe he was telling the truth. He was bragging about it. But he thought that since he signed a proffer agreement, he can never be charged with the murder. So I say this again to you guys. So does the state have to prove Keefe D pulled the trigger? The state the state does have to prove Keefe D intentionally participated and aided in the murder. They don't have to prove that he pulled the trigger though. Nevada law says a person who aids and abets, counsels or encourages, commands, induces, or procures someone else to commit the crime may be prosecuted and punished as a principal. So theoretically, even if the jury conclude Orlando Anderson pulled the trigger or DeAndre Smith pulled the trigger, they could still convict Keefe D of the murder if prosecutors prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Davis intentionally participated in the murder in the legally required way. You get it? In the legally required way. You don't have to be the principal. So when you watching the trial, I compiled some questions here. Can prosecutors corroborate Keefe D's own statements with independent evidence? That's what you can look out for. Will the jury believe his interviews and memoir were truthful, admissions, or exaggerated storytelling? Can prosecutors convincingly establish that he supplied the gun knowing a murder was going to occur? How much evidence exists beyond Keefe D's own words, guys, nearly 30 years later? How much evidence do they have? What will the jury hear about who fired the shots, Anderson Smith or someone else? Well, they're going to get that from Keefe D's own words. The fifth question is fascinating, right? But legally, it may not be the question that decides whether Keefe D is guilty, which means that, like that question I just said, what will the jury hear about who actually fired the shots, Anderson Smith or someone else? It doesn't matter. So, so remember, just that's the only thing you have to take away from this. They don't have to prove that Keefe D fired the weapon. Remember that. He is cooked. When I tell you he's cooked, I already made the prediction he's going to be found guilty of murder. And he's going to spend the rest of his life in prison because he's what 60 some years old. He's done. Now my question to you guys, to be fair here, if you were involved, if you were a street guy, right, and you were involved, and he was a high-ranking street guy according to his own admission. If you're involved in a high-profile murder, would you go on a YouTube channel called Vlad TV and essentially tell on yourself? Would you do that? Why would you do that? I would keep that. That will be close to me until the day I die. Nobody will never know what happened because I'm not going to tell it. I'm not going to write a book about it either. Yeah, he did it for money because people want his interview, and that's how he make his money. But all money ain't good money because now he don't have no money, and he's essentially going to be in a bathroom for the rest of his life, and he's 63 years old. So it wasn't worth it. He's going to be found guilty for sure. They don't have to prove that he pulled the trigger. This case is strange though. A lot of people that was involved in this case is no longer living. Now there's a story that's going around that Diddy paid Keefe D and them. Well, he had Keefe D and them to kill Tupac, and they said that he gave the money to this person named Eric Von Zip. But Eric Von Zip is no longer living. He's dead too. And he never did get the money to Keefe D and them. So how would Keefe D be able to prove that the money came from Diddy today? He's not gonna be able to prove it. That's why people say, "Oh, Diddy is gonna be testified." No, he's not. No, he's not. Diddy don't have nothing to do with this. Even if Keefe D offer information, he has to prove it. He can say, "Yeah, Diddy gave us the money." He was gonna give us the money, but you have to prove it in order for Diddy to get charged with this. And so much time has passed, over 30 years has passed. It's done. He's the one that's been doing interviews, Mr. Big Shot Caller, Keefe D. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, about the crime. I don't want to talk about that, Vlad. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to talk about that, Vlad. But then he started talking about it. Okay. Let me say this to you guys, for you younger people that wants to get into the street life or whatever. Let me explain something if you don't already know this. The internet, my question to you is, do you know who was using the internet before the general public? Who was using the internet before the general public? Like 5 to 10 years before it came out? The Pentagon. It was in the Pentagon. The government was using it. So let me ask you another question to see if you have any common sense. Wouldn't common sense tell you they have their own vloggers and YouTubers? The CIA? Wouldn't you think? Or they use some of these platforms and hey, question this person about this question like this. It's what you call a soft interrogation, correct? Isn't it called the soft interrogation? I came up with that. You know, I was watching a video. It was this YouTuber. He's no longer really doing anything really. I haven't heard from him. He was going around different neighborhoods, asking where the guns at, where the real ninjas at, and how real it is over here. And he said, I heard it was some stuff back here back in the day with some shootings and this and that. And it was this going on, like, yo, show me where it's real at. Do you know what that is? That's them gathering intelligence on the neighborhood so they know who to get rid of. You didn't know that? You don't know that they use vloggers to go out there and do that and y'all fell for it? Y'all stupid. Stupid. And y'all sitting up there, yeah, this is our gang and this and that, and you got everybody face on camera. All you guys are in a conspiracy. They can go arrest all of you now. They got you on video. Another fool is going to go on trial too, and he not getting out. He gonna be found guilty just along with Keefe D. And that's what's his name? Big U. He's gone. He's never coming out. Never. And what did Big U do? Didn't he get on Vlad and all that and talk? Of course he did. Now, my question, why would they do that? Guys, there's no such thing as gangsters like you think they are. There's no such thing. That's just Hollywood saying, oh, this is what gangsters are. They're all stupid. Why would you get on Vlad and start telling stuff? I'm not, no, this is no knock on Vlad. But if I knew something and I did something sketchy in my life, you guys are not going to know about it. I'm not helping these folks do their job. So they already said it. They're going to use Keefe D's memoir, his book, because he needed some money, right? He wanted some money. So he had to go write a memoir to make some money and go on Vlad and promote it. And he didn't even know the statute in Nevada that you don't have to pull the trigger, Dodo. You just have to be a principal. You just had to have been there and help procure it. He already talked about how he did it. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? We went expecting to see Tupac on the strip, you know what I'm saying? And we saw him and he was talking to some females, which is really crazy. And then we went up to him. I would have shot him myself, but I just wasn't on that side of the car. And then Tupac was trying to get in the back seat of the car because he was scared. Vlad, you know what I'm saying? But Vlad, I ain't gonna talk about too much, Vlad. You know what I'm saying? You already talking about it. You stupid. So essentially, he going to jail for being stupid. Okay, he going to jail for being stupid. Keefe D. Keefe D. That's it. This is it for him. The jury probably gonna take a 3 hours deliberation, and they're gonna come back. He's guilty. I promise you. This is easy. This is an easy verdict. And people still go on Vlad. Like, yeah, Vlad, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, like people do that. It's crazy. We are never gonna overcome nothing, yo. Period. You said free Keefe. Ain't no free Keefe. Keefe done, yo. Ain't no free Keefe D. He's done. Maybe he can convince the jury that he talks too much in order to make money. Nope, he's done. You said street smart, not book smart. No, he's not street smart either. If he was truly street smart, he wouldn't have got on Vlad and started talking. That's not street smart. That's not book smart either. That's not street smart, not book smart. He's just not smart. You said Keefe approved a hit allegedly. The state, the state case is not. Yeah, it's kind of, if you think about it, essentially, you might think the state case is weak, but he's going to jail. I'm just telling you, they don't have to prove that he pulled the trigger. You said it's sad Tupac kept putting himself in dangerous situations. Yeah, I know he did. See, Tupac wasn't a gangster. He was in a situation. Tupac was an actor. You remember when he was rapping about this thug life and this and that? He was acting. He's a good actor. But he convinced a lot of people he's a thug. Okay? He was what you call in character. And he went and put his hands on somebody from the streets and they wanted their get back. They wanted their revenge. And they just happened to see him on the strip that night. They just happened to see him and they went and killed him. You said that's why you have a hard time believing a jury would find him. You didn't understand what I was saying. They don't have to prove that he pulled the trigger. They have to just essentially prove that he was there. In Texas, they call y'all need to learn this, yo, so y'all won't go to jail. No, stop playing for a second. Teach your kids this. You don't have to pull the trigger to be the principal. In Texas, they call it the law of parties. Did you know that you can be put to death and you didn't have to kill nobody in Texas? I followed those cases. Y'all need to know this, man. Y'all need to know this, man. Like it ain't no. I found the jury. No, no, don't do that. Don't do that, man. Because Keefe's been talking for a long time. This is on Keefe. This ain't nobody's fault but his. This ain't nobody's fault but his, man. He should have kept his mouth shut. That's it. But I get it. He wants notoriety. He figured he can make some money. Look, they lured him. Here, we're gonna give you 10,000 for an interview. Would you turn that down? And all you gotta do is just talk for a minute and you get $10,000 or whatever they paid him. He got lured with money. That money probably only lasted a couple of weeks. Everybody is talking. Even the people back in the day associated with Diddy was talking. Everybody's a talk. Everybody like to talk these days. Everybody do. They like to talk for what? What do you like to talk for? You said YouTube evolved so much since it started 20 years ago. But don't you think the CIA has their own YouTubers? Why wouldn't they have them? Why wouldn't the government have agents that's as YouTubers? You don't think so? That's common sense that they do. Big brother always watching. You said Suge Knight and Gene Deal both said they aren't testifying. What would Gene Deal have to testify for? He wasn't there. Yeah, Tupac is a great actor. He was acting. He wasn't no thug. All right, look, watch this. Let's see if anybody say I'm lying. We'll check the comments later. Guys, let me give you the setting. 1990, 1991, and 1992. East Orange, New Jersey. Park Avenue, East Orange, New Jersey. 18th Street. Tupac used to go up and down Park Avenue going to the store, getting Philly blunts or Black and Miles. Okay. Anybody that lived around there, tell me, was he a gangster or not? He was not a gangster. I used to see him all the time. My boy Sean lived on Park Avenue, not too far from Tretch. My cousins, and my mother's first cousin, they lived across the street from Tretch. So I grew up knowing who he was. Tupac used to go over there all the time, talk to my family all the time. He was not a gangster. He was not. He was an entertainer. He had a lot of ambition. He had a lot of dreams of what he wanted to do. And he was getting ready to do it. But his main thing was acting. That was his main thing. He went to a nice high school to learn how to act. And he was classmates with Jada Pinkett Smith. I'm not lying. Okay. If anybody in here, they never going to say I'm lying. They're like, damn, you remember that? Yes, I remember. Park Avenue. He used to walk up and down the street rapping to himself. I didn't know who he was at first. Didn't. But how him and Tretch met, Tretch and them was on tour with Queen Latifah. Okay. With Queen Latifah and the Flavor Unit. And they did some shows with the Digital Underground. You know, the Humpty dance. My name is Humpty, and whatever. Well, Tupac was a dancer slash roadie for Digital Underground. That's how him and Tretch met. They've been hanging tough ever since. He used to be all up and down Park Avenue, Tupac. Every now and then we used to see Biggie. Every now and then. We used to run into Biggie sometime because he was dating Faith Evans. I'm not lying to you. Yes, he was. He used to have not an expedition. He used to drive a truck. I can't remember what the truck was. It was black. It was Ford. Might have been an expedition. He used to come over to Faith Evans' house all the time. Okay. So he used to be seen a lot. Also, Chino XL, rest in peace to him. We used to see him all the time. Okay. Remember Tupac dissed and fucked Chino XL? Yeah, he used to see him all the time. All the time. Used to see Chino XL, bro. He just recently passed about 2 years ago. Chino XL. But anybody off Park Avenue in East Orange on 18th Street, they're gonna tell you I'm not lying. And also, Tretch used to call it 118th Street. That's not it. It's called 18th Street. But he made it sound good, 118th Street. It's 18th Street off Park Avenue in East Orange. Right before you get to Newark. It's on the border of Newark. Okay. It's on the border of Newark. And Tupac never struck anybody out there. He never struck anybody out there as a gangster ever, including my square self. Yep. But then I didn't know who he was really, and then till I started seeing him on TV, and then he was involved in the shooting, and so I said, "Yo, that's what's his name," and that's how I started knowing who he was. But we used to see him all the time. He wasn't no gangster, fam. He was not. He was not it. So yeah, Gene Deal said on a video that he saw Von Zip with $1 million in a check. He said he knew it was for Tupac. He said that too. And what's his name broke the video down. His name is what's the guy's name? He used to have a DVD back in the day. What's his name? I can't remember his name right now. But that's where I heard it. He said, and then Choke No Joke broke it down too. What's that dude's name, man? You said I saw Tupac at Glenfield Park in Montclair the summer of '96. Yeah. All right. So are you from Montclair? Watch this. Watch it. He ain't gonna say I'm lying. Betha, you're not gonna say I'm lying. I killed. Watch this. You saw him at Glenfield Park, right? Watch this. I can tell you why he was at Glenfield Park. Because Fatal and them, that's where they from. They from New Street off Bloomfield Avenue. That's why. Because my ex-girlfriend went to school with Fatal. That's why he was over there. And you probably said I probably was out there too. You said I'm 38 from Montclair. I was, oh no, you was 8. Yeah, you 38 now. You were too young then. Yeah. You 38. Damn, you making me seem old. But check this out. The reason why he was over at Glenfield Park is because Fatal, you don't even know Fatal. His name is Fatal Hussein. He's from Montclair on New Street off Bloomfield Avenue in Montclair. Okay. You know Bloomfield Avenue off Montclair? That's where they from. That used to you know what that area used to be considered back in the day? They used to be considered the gangster area of Montclair. That's hilarious. And I never thought it was. All right, so that was on New Street in Montclair. That's why Tupac and Noble too, right? And there's another one in Yafula. You know, Yafula passed away when you probably don't even know who Yafula is, but Yafula passed away. He was related to Tupac. I think it was Tupac's cousin or something, or stepbrother or something. He was murdered right after Tupac died in Orange, you know, the Orange Projects in Orange, New Jersey. You didn't even know, you probably didn't even know they had projects over there. In Orange, they used to have something called Orange Projects. That's where he died at. Because I didn't live too far from there. In fact, I'm not too far now from there. All right. So what happened was, so Tupac, the Outlaws was getting ready to do good things, right? Because they were going to go on tour. Tupac was planning a tour before he died. They were getting ready to go on tour. They were getting ready to do big things. And some of them was going to start acting. Tupac, let me tell you something, yo. Tupac, we were in New York one time. We saw Tupac going into, it was it was in a village. He was going into this club and whatnot. Mickey Rourke was with him. Mickey Rourke, Madonna. It was Mickey. I know it was Mickey Rourke. Mickey Rourke was with him. Damn, who else was with him? What's it? I think he had died already. It's either Joaquin Phoenix or River Phoenix, one of them. I think River had passed already. I can't remember what year River died. Let me see, because he might have been there. Hold on, give me a second. No, it was Joaquin that he was with. River died in '93. But he used to hang with River though before he passed. Everybody knows this. He used to hang with River too. You said Orange Middle School. You see your auntie stay in the apartments behind Orange Middle School. I know where that's at. That's over there by White Castle. Yep. That's not too far from Seven Oaks. Where I told you yesterday they had that serial killer at. Khalil Wheeler Weaver. I knew his uncle. But let me tell you this, right? I say say all that to say this. A lot of people that witnessed the murder, they're dead. Yafula passed away. He was right. He saw the shooting. The Outlaws was in back of him. They were out there. You said Essex County boy, right? They were in back of him when he got shot, and a lot of them passed away. I mean, Napoleon's still alive. Napoleon's still doing his thing. It's only like a couple of them alive now. Really. White Castle's been let me tell you this. You know how long White Castle been there? White Hey, what's up, Nicole? White Castle's been there since I was a kid. That same White Castle, right there on the corner, what is it, Scotland Road and whatever it is, Central Avenue. That particular area has been there since I was like 2 or 3 years old, man. That's like how long it's been there. Because I used to go to, where I used to go? Our Lady of the Valley. Right over there, that Catholic school. You know what I'm saying? You go down Scotland Road and you make a right on what's the name of the damn street? I can't remember. But I used to go there, Our Lady of the Valley. That's where I went to Catholic school, my grammar school. And then I went on to Essex Catholic. You see what I'm saying? That's where I played football at. But I used to play football over there in Orange because the reason why I used to go over there because it was a little better environment. It's a far where I live, so I had to come to Orange and play. I had to go over there. It was a little bit better. But my point is nobody's alive that witnessed it. Some of the outlaws witnessed it, but I don't think a lot of them got a clear view at it. Yafula did. He got a clear view of it, who shot him, but he's no longer living. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, he died way too soon. But the thing is, it's unfortunate, man. Let me tell you how good he was. He was so good of an actor. He was going to win an Oscar eventually. That's how good he was. Dude, he used to hang out. Oh, that was the other person I saw him with, Philip Seymour Hoffman. They were all in the club together, chilling with Philip Seymour Hoffman. Come on, man. That rest in peace to him. You know Philip Seymour Hoffman? He was chilling with him, Madonna and everybody. Mike Tyson and all them. He got a picture with him, Mike Tyson, Michael Jackson, um, Magic Johnson, Madonna. They were all chilling together in Vegas. A lot of people thought that picture was fake. It's not. That's a real picture. They all got together one time, include Michael Jackson. Now, did Tupac and Michael Jackson get in a fight? I think they did. And they had to break it up. Somebody had to break that up. Somebody told me that was a real thing because we heard that back in the day. Before it hit YouTube, we heard that they got in a fight over Kadada Jones. Because Kadada Jones, Michael considered her his niece. You know what I'm saying? He felt some type of way saying Tupac disrespecting her. So they had words and whatnot. I don't think they got in a fight, but they had to break it up. Now, let me tell you about this if you didn't know this. Anybody ever heard of Jean-Michel Basquiat? Well, Jean-Michel Basquiat and Madonna used to date. So check this out. Back in the day when I was growing up, when I was like 8, 9, 10 years old, we knew Basquiat as a graffiti artist. I don't know if y'all know that. I can't prove it because none of his graffiti don't exist no more. So you're just going to take my word for it. Or maybe you can like Google it or something. I remember him as a graffiti artist because he used to hang out with Keefe Haring. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what I wanted to do back in the day. And guess who else he knew? Y'all ain't gonna believe this. You ever heard of the group called the Artifacts? It's this guy named Tang One. He passed away in Elder Sensei. They used to be graffiti artists as well. Tang One, his tag used to be called Tang. Him and Basquiat, they were like brothers. Nobody's gonna believe me when I say it, but I remember. And Basquiat used to date Madonna, right? So what happened was they broke up. And there's a lot of Basquiat paintings right now that got black lines in it, black paint. And a lot of people think that's just because of art. No, he purposely did that on purpose to destroy the art so she can give it back to him after they broke up. You know what I'm saying? Um, but back in the day, Basquiat, this is before Giuliani took over. Basquiat and Keith Haring and a few other people, They used to be graffiti artists on the train. Remember that? You remember that movie called Breaking or Beat Street? It was either Breaking or Beat Street. Beat Street, the king of the beats. I'm gonna rock that beats from across the street. Beat Street. So less than the two. Never let the streets beat you. I think that was Crush Groove or Break, whatever it was. The trains that had all that graffiti on it. That was Basquiat in them. Basquiat was doing all that. And now he's revered as one of the great painters, because Jay-Z always talking about Basquiat. You know what I'm saying? You know how Jay-Z say, I got that Basquiat. Well, Madonna used to date him. I'm telling you she did. I guess there's pictures of him. I'm just telling you from what I recollect. I know there's pictures of him online. You got to go get somebody Google it real quick. I bet you'll see it. And matter of fact, I could show you his old house in New York City. It's still there, and it still have his graffiti on it. A lot of people don't know he used to live it, but it's like a little warehouse type of vibe. Yeah, Ice-T was out there too. Yes, he was. Yep, he was in the movie. Yeah, how you know that? He damn sure was. Um, but Basquiat was one of the graffiti artists. Him and Keith Haring, and it was another guy. He was like the father of graffiti art. I forget his name. He's still alive, actually. The one that kind of invented it. He's still alive. I forget his name right now. And Cool Brother Rap is not Cool Brother Rap. What's his name? The one that named hip hop. I forget his name right now. He's still alive too. He's in his 70s, in his late 70s. He's still alive. And he actually named hip hop. He named it that. You said you're right. Madonna spoke about. I don't know. Did she? Yeah, I know from because back in the day we used to get, breaking magazines. I used to get because I was into graffiti. Okay, you said, yep, Madonna. You said they. Oh, did y'all look? I don't know. Y'all have to look. I'm just going off recollection right now. But what happened was, how do I know this? So back in the day, I was into graffiti, right? And my grandmother used to live in the Bronx. So I used to go there on the weekend. I lived in Jersey, but I used to go to my grandmother's house in the Bronx. And we used to run into him. We used to run into Basquiat. I remember when he passed away too. That was in like 88. Damn, when did he pass away? I was like 13 years old. Let me see, how old was I? I think it's 12 when he passed away. I was like 12 because we were like looking up to him, because we like graffiti and all that. And then he started hanging out with Keith Haring and all that. I mean, not Keith Haring, the Campbell Soup guy. And let me tell you how I know he dated Madonna. So in the graffiti book, Madonna was posing with him in the book. And then there was a little writing in the book saying that was his girlfriend. And then there was like a little thing that was going around in the tabloids back in the 80s that when they broke up, he destroyed a lot of art because he wanted his art back. So he put all these black lines in it. So he dated Madonna. But the thing was, they were still cool though. They weren't beefing with each other though. They just broke up for whatever reason. Because she went to the funeral. You know what I'm saying? But I remember when he passed, and because he used to hang out with the Campbell Soup guy. What the fuck is his name? Andy Warhol. When he started hanging out with Andy Warhol, then he became famous. Everybody like, okay, shit. He's like, then he started start doing all his paintings. Because Andy Warhol like said, yo, he the man, yo. And when Andy Warhol give you the stamp of approval, you the man. He was like the OG back then, Andy Warhol. He was known for his best work with the Campbell Soup painting. You see what I'm saying? So this is my childhood. Like I remember them. I remember Basquiat. You know what I'm saying? He was one of the reasons why I wanted dreads. He was the one of the reasons. And I went and got him when my mother said, you can't have them right now. Because I want to be like Basquiat. I want to have locks, like Bob Marley. So I had to wait until I was like 17. I got locks. But I can't, it's crazy how today He's known as like a really good painter. Like he's revered. Like everybody like Basquiat. But back in the day, we just known him as a graffiti artist. Now, the only last known tag that he has is in Brooklyn somewhere. I can't remember where it is. I got to Google it. I'm gonna go by there one day and take a picture of it. There's no more graffiti of him left because all the trains they got rid of. You said Warhol is his last thing. Yeah, Andy Warhol. Andy is Andy Warhol. He's from like Philly, I think. I can't remember where he's from. But Keith Haring, I liked him too. I liked his art too. And they all die young. All of them. All die young, bro. It's something about that number what they died, man. Jimi Hendrix died at the same age. Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix. I don't know what it is with that age, bro. They all died. Stevie Ray Vaughan, all of them. You know, but Basquiat, if you don't believe me, go look at his picture now. Tell me, don't you get the feeling that he's still alive? He has an up-to-date picture. His picture looks up to date. If you go look at him right now, you're gonna be like, he could be living right now. His picture doesn't look old, it looks up to date. Yeah, well, Basquiat, he OD'd. He took a speedball like Jim Belushi did. I remember Jim Belushi died. You know, he the original like OGs from the Saturday Night Live. You feel me? All right, my bad. So a lot of this stuff get lost in history because a lot of people don't know that stuff, man. That he dated Madonna. I think you probably do know that. You just have to it's on YouTube. I think somebody told me that. Somebody just texted me and said, "Bro, all that stuff on YouTube. You never look." I said, "Nah, I lived it. I know he dated her." Yeah, John Belushi. Excuse me. All right, sorry about that. Yeah, so he dated Madonna, and what's his name used to hang out too. What's her name? Iman. They used to hang out together. Iman, the model, and Grace Jones. They all used to hang out. Yeah, he was on drugs, he said, I believe, back in the day. What's up, Corvette girl? Back to work. All right, have a good one. Basquiat later saw Madonna on the cover of Time magazine. Well, she was known as the Material Girl back then. Madonna was famous back then. You know what I'm saying? She's been famous for over 5 decades, yo. Straight up, 4 decades. She just that's why I give her a pass because she be act wilding out now. I give her a pass, yo. She's a legend. I just get I'm surprised she survived this long. You see what I'm saying? Because back then everybody was wilding out back then. The drugs and shit. She never fell victim to it. You know what I'm saying? She could have. She never fell victim to it. That's why I said, how did she survive like that? Because them rock stars back in the day, they were wilding out. They were. Everybody, the first founders of hip hop, they were all on coke. Every last one of them, yo. Now, I remember when it first started. Well, actually, I was about 5 years old, 5 or 6, when my grandmother used to take us to the park. Because in the summertime, they used to have the guys in the park, the DJs, and sometimes they used to have the guys with the big radios, and they used to battle each other on beat, and they rap. But it wasn't like battle rap how it is now. And then they used to have the break dancers out there. Because me and my boys, we wanted to break dance. I was with that crew wearing Adidas and wearing what's the other sneakers we used to wear? The spot belts, all that stuff. But they used to rap in the park in the Bronx. That's why they say hip hop started in the Bronx. It did. They're not lying. It started in the Bronx. And then it ventured out. Now, a lot of people are seeming to think that because I remember Tariq Nasheed said it was started strictly by how does he say it? Black Americans. That's not entirely true. Everybody was involved in it back then. Melly Mel and them, they Jamaican, I believe. And the Furious Five and all of them and Grandmaster Ted and they all from the islands. A lot of them are. So it was like a culmination of all like races, really. He don't know. He from Detroit. He wouldn't know that. You had to live out here to know that. You see what I'm saying? So I'm not saying that he lying, but he wouldn't know because I actually lived it. I remember Fat Joe too. Now here's the thing. Fat Joe sitting up here lying to y'all. Now y'all can clip this right now and go give it to him. And I bet you he gonna not say I'm lying. Fat Joe used to be wilding out back in the day. Okay. I'm not saying he was a stick up kid, but his ass was wilding out. And we almost got shot because of it for his dumb ass. All right, clip this for him. The Muse. Okay. Ask him, do he remember the club called the Muse in New York City? All his boys showed up one night in MPV trucks, Mazda MPVs, and out there messing with people. He probably wouldn't remember because he was drunk. And next thing you know, they started shooting. I don't know. He got into it. They got into it with somebody and shots rang out. Yeah, Fat Joe, man. We couldn't go nowhere without his ass showing up. Nowhere in the city. And they used to roll deep too. When I say roll deep, at least 20 of them. All in MPV vans, Acura Vigors. Go ask them. Um, Honda CRXs, all that. And they used to like mess with people, yo. But now he acting like he was never like that bullshit. Yes, he was. A motherfucking Joey Crack, man. I remember he used to say that. And another person that's crazy that I ran into was freaking Buster Rhymes. That's another one that's crazy. Buster crazy. I give him one thing. He wouldn't mind fighting you. He ain't scared. A friend of mine, we were in New York. We was looking at cars, and he was there. And he just like screw facing my boy, and he was like saying stuff like, "This dude is crazy." I told my boy he got roid rage. Buster Rhymes had roid because back then he was real big. I said Buster got roid rage, and I think he heard me. I said, dude, that's the leaders of the new school, dude. I said, don't worry about him, man. That's old rapping ass dude. Don't worry about him. And he's sitting up there, what I don't know what they talking about. I'm like, who the fuck talks like that in real life? It's like, aren't you a human being? Why you gotta always act like a rapper? Talk in your real voice. But that is his real voice, I think. Yeah, that's back when he had muscles on top of muscles. He had Roy Rage, Buster Rhymes. And Fat Joe was crazy. Don't let him fool you talking about he ain't never do this and that. Yes, he did. Lying ass. But now that he got something to lose and this and that, that's I understand that's past him now. I don't want him to lie though. Don't lie. Don't get on Fox News and lie. Or NBC and lie and say you weren't like that because he was. Fat Joe. One day I'm gonna see him and say, yo, Fat Joe, you remember the Muse? Remember that club called the Muse? He gonna remember. I said, y'all were wilding that night. And I tell you another spot. I never saw Tupac in the tunnel though. Maybe he did go there, but I never saw him. I'm sure he did go to the tunnel at some point, but I never was there. I wasn't there when he was in there, I guess. But the tunnel was a nightclub out there where it was like, man, they had a lot of rooms. They even had a DJ in the bathroom. The tunnel, I see people get robbed in there. It was crazy. Crazy stuff, guys. Crazy. But we used to have the where the backpacker crew came from, right? The backpackers came from, we used to wear Jam Sport book bags. That's the original backpackers book bag. It's a Jam Sport. You know what I'm saying? And we used to put our good shoes in the bag so we won't get robbed on the train. That's the reason for it. You said, is it true Madonna had Tupac flown in to visit? I'm pretty sure she did. She had money back then. That's the material girl. Madonna was popping back then. But yeah, I believe he did used to mess around with Madonna for sure. But it was a short period of time. You said Orlando nor Keefe shot Tupac. Does Keefe know who shot Tupac? He said Orlando did it. I heard him say that. But see, here's the thing, Miss Jackson. They don't have to prove that nobody shot Tupac. They just have to prove that Keefe helped orchestrate it. Now you know what they're gonna go on, right? Now you might say to yourself, what evidence are they gonna use? Because it's been over 30 years. I know what you're gonna say. They only using his memoirs and his interviews with Vlad in them. That's it. Now, granted, if you don't think he's gonna get convicted because of that, then that's cool. I can't wait to see what the verdict is gonna be. Then we can see if we were right or not. So come back. When the verdict comes, make sure y'all come back to tell me I'm wrong, because somebody said it's a weak case. If you think it's a weak case, I can't argue with you because they're only going on his memoirs, his original proffer agreement, what he said in the interview with his proffer, and they're going with the interviews he did online. That's it. That's the evidence. Now, do you believe he was lying or not? That's my question to you. Do you believe he was embellishing the story or not? You said Bugsy Siegel, Kingpin, Gianni Russo. I studied a lot of that stuff back then with Bugsy Siegel and them and all that right there. And how they were in, was it Bugsy Siegel or what's the other guy name? They were all in Cuba. They set up shop in Cuba. It was Lucky Luciano, right? Yeah, I used to study that stuff back in the day. So if you believe that if you believe what Keefe D is saying, then he might get convicted. But if you believe that he was lying and he embellished his story and you cannot convict him beyond reasonable doubt, then I understand. Keefe D do it had did have immunity. Yeah, a form of a proffer, but they gonna use it against him now. And like I said, his defense is saying, look, he was lying. He wanted to sell his books. So he had to embellish the story in order for his books to sell. So they're gonna have to convince the jury of that. Because the prosecutors, they don't have to pull that, they don't have to prove that he pulled the trigger. In Texas, they have something similar called the law of parties. Similar. Every state has something similar like that. A guilty by association law. So he doesn't have to be the principal to be found guilty. They just have to say, did you believe when he was talking to Vlad? Do y'all believe that? See, here's the thing. Okay, you say in Las Vegas, see, it don't always happen, I guess. So I'm just in your case, it didn't happen. They only charged the person that fired the shot. Well, here's the thing. If in this case, they just really want to get Keefe. They could have just left well enough alone. But I don't know why they're going after Keefe. I don't know. Did he do something? Like that he didn't leave a did he piss somebody off in the background? I'm not sure. They could have just left him alone. But no, they're going for him, which will give some closure to Tupac's family. Tupac is a very complex guy. He wasn't around that long. He did a lot of work in a short period of time when people knew him. Because prior to that, he's with the Digital Underground. Nobody really knew him like that. And then once he did that movie and started making music, he had 3 years to live. That's it. You said he put Diddy in it. Okay. So you probably just came in. So let's talk about that. So Diddy involvement. Allegedly, they said Diddy paid for them to shoot Tupac and kill him. Right? They said that Tupac Diddy gave the money to this person named Eric Von Zip, who was good friends of Mike Tyson. They saying that Eric Von Zip kept the money. He never did give it to Keefe DNA. So they don't have no way of tying Diddy to this. If they had, if they had collected the check, then they could have tied Diddy to it. But they don't have the check. Eric Von Zip kept the check. That's what they're saying allegedly. But the problem is Eric Von Zip is no longer alive to tell his story. So yeah, Diddy is not going to testify. Nothing. You got to remember, right? In the way this thing is set up, Diddy is still connected. He's still connected. You said Keefe D already denied Diddy had involvement. Yeah, Diddy not getting prosecuted. It's over with. It's only Keefe. Keefe and guys, he's dangerously close to losing this case. Dangerously close. In fact, I think he is going to blow trial. Keefe D. It's some weird guys. It's a lot. Everybody business coming out too. It's a weird time we in. There's something going on online right now. This guy is outing somebody. I don't even want to talk about that. He came out the woodworks outing somebody. When payments have stopped being made, people start talking. Keefe D, guys. So we're going to see what happens with Keefe. Yeah, I know he did say he saw the check. I heard him when he said it. But he's not going to be a witness, though, I don't think. He's hoping to win the appeal. Yeah, you said that prosecutors are allowed to go back on their word. Yeah, because he had signed a proffer agreement. Like, I don't understand how they're using that, but they are. That's crazy. He even talked about the killing, how it happened. Guys, a proffer, it's like essentially you're a king for a day. You're allowed to tell everything that you know and your involvement without the danger of being prosecuted. And you're helping out them. But now they're using it against him, which is crazy. And his memoir. He said today he never meant that. Yes, he did. He said it. He did. He did say that. It's on video. If you go to Doggy Diamonds, hold on, I found it. If you go to Doggy Diamonds and type in Gene Deal, it's gonna come up. Because Doggy Diamonds had broke it down. Hold on, I'm gonna find it right now. Yes, he did say that. He said he saw the check and it was for Tupac's murder. Doggy Diamonds, Gene Deal, Tupac, murder. Watch. If I can easily find it, um,
I was like, that's not what they said happened. Could you, for the people, I'm pretty sure you told them the last moments of what happened, the shooting. How did it happen again?
Well, me and Puff was arguing outside the car because I wanted to ride on top of the, like,
The presidential riding.
the president.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. Like, things happen for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to that, 2 weeks before we went out to LA, I did this interrogation and surveillance class with the DEA because my job was offering and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So they told you how to question somebody. You do a line of questioning, and if they do what they call an involuntary eye movement, involuntary motion, after you ask them like a series of 10 questions that you know the individual is going to tell the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Then you ask them something that's uncomfortable for them. You understand?
Almost like a verbal lie detector?
Right.
Gotcha.
And then you ask them something that if you know they're going to tell an outright lie about it or be untruthful. And then you look at their motions doing it every time. So you jotting down the different motions you're doing those questions. Then we did what they call surveillance. Like it was people in the classes, and they tell you these people what they had on. They're gonna try to you gotta follow them. They're gonna try to lose you. So in the interim of that class, they was telling them about being in the car and knowing if somebody follow you. He said, if you make 3 rights or run 3 lights, and somebody's behind you doing the same thing, they following you. You take 3 rights, you in the same place you start.
Facts.
You understand?
Yeah, facts.
So if that car's behind
going back to the same place for it. Yeah.
We're going back to the same place for it.
Yeah.
Or if you run 3 lights and you see somebody running 3 lights with you or running lights with you, what you call? So that night I wanted to do the presidential thing. Yo, Keefe D man came up into the party. I said, yo, Keefe, yo, big, you know Keefe? Just like that. Yo, big, they gave each other dap.
So Keefe D is Southside Crips.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he up in there. It's right there. So now the fire alarm.
Not to cut you, was Baby Lane there or was he?
Nah, he wasn't.
Okay.
So the fire alarm, this is after Pac is dead.
Got you.
You know what I'm saying? So that's why when they draw up this whole thing and say, and they do this whole radio thing, they found the killer and everything like that. Yo, and Keefe D didn't ever have a conversation with Puff prior to this. Me and Keefe D, we was in the 4th season gambling together. You understand?
So it's a surveillance video of that somewhere.
Huh?
It's a surveillance video of that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So, in the 4th season hotel. So we in the 4th season gambling.
Wow.
Me, D-Mac, Keefe D, Zip, Puff, and Trench with Arnell Simpson on his arm.
Trench was down with Tupac too, though.
Man, brother, he was down with a lot of people.
Yeah.
But he a good brother.
No, facts.
You know what I'm saying? So he gambling.
But OJ daughter on his own. That's what we talking about. OJ Simpson's daughter. Yeah.
And hit them for like 20,000. You know what I'm saying?
So it's the Southside Crips.
Yeah.
Yourself, Puffy, Biggie.
D-Mac.
Who's D-Mac?
D-Mac is do Southside. He's a Crip from out there too.
Okay.
He's the one that always like he worked for Sean John, but him and Puff was real close.
Got you. So that was that the introduction to the Southside Crips? Because I didn't understand.
I don't know. No, I think the introduction came from Zip.
Okay.
And D-Mac had his crew that was Crips. I don't know what they Grape Street or whatever they was, or I don't know. And then, or they could have been Southside. I don't know his affiliation with them.
Let me ask you something, Direct. I see different conspiracies. I see different people say different things, right? You know who Wack 100 is, right?
I know Wack.
Wack said it was a bag. It was somebody from LA that did it to Big, but it was a Harlem dude's bag that paid for it. Do you know what he's talking about? Do you know what he's saying?
I ain't speaking on it.
Got you.
You know what I'm saying?
Got you.
I'm gonna say that
for the last for Gene Deal.
Yeah, for Gene Deal. I'm gonna say that for Gene Deal. Because I know and to be honest with God, I saw the check. But I don't know where the check came from. I just know the person who had the check, and I know what they told us what they got the check for.
All right.
And so I'm gonna leave it at that.
Just one more thing on that. So you're telling me you saw the check for Biggie's life?
I don't know if it was for Biggie's. No. I'm not saying it was for Biggie's.
Okay, yeah. Because we gotta clarify.
I saw the check for Pac's. I guess it was for Pac's life.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know for sure.
Damn.
I just know after Pac died, that check came into somebody's hand.
Got you.
And they said, "This is what I got the check for." And it was just funny that it was soon after Pac died that they got that check for that.
Wow.
All right. So right there, he said he wasn't sure. He said he's thinking it was for Tupac. He said that. Now before he answered it, he said he's not speaking on it, but he started speaking on it. So that's not a good person to have on the stand, because he said he's not sure, but he said, "Oh, well, the check was for Biggie." He said, "No, it's for Tupac." You know what I'm saying? He know where the check came. He said he don't know where the check came from. But then another interview, he said he told where the check came from. It didn't come from Diddy directly. It came from one of the companies, because he said, "I need to get an advance to give somebody." He got the check in the form of an advance, allegedly. And that's how they were able to pay Von Zip, because he said Von Zip had a check. Eric Von Zip had the check for the murder of Tupac Shakur. But he's no longer alive to tell his story. And he was good friends with Mike Tyson. So, Yeah, Gene said something to that effect, but that's what I was waiting for him to say it. But yeah, they all do a lot. They talk, you know what I'm saying? It's cool, but I don't know. Is Gene on the witness list? I don't know because he's not there. He's at home because I believe he's live, right? He was live earlier. If he's not still live now, let me check. Yeah, he was live about an hour ago. So he's home. He's definitely not in Las Vegas. I don't know if he's going to be a witness or not. I did hear him say that that check could have been for Tupac. But here's the thing. According to the story, Keefe D and them never got the check. Von Zip kept it, allegedly. They never got payment for it. So then how are you going to be able to tie Diddy to this? They're not going to be able to. Even if he did have something to do with it, they're not going to be able to tie him to it. So really, if you think about it, he's lucky that Von Zip kept the check. Because if he had gave it to him, then they could say, here's a paper trail now. So no, they can't tie Diddy to it, I don't think. Unless he just come out and clear his conscience and say he did it. And, but I don't think he's going to do that. Now, there was a person that knew a lot of information because he started the hip hop task force. He passed away recently. And he started the hip hop task force in New York City. And I remember him, Derek Parker was his name. He's a former police officer. And I remember him saying the person that killed Jam Master Jay attended the funeral. I remember him saying that. He was right. The person that was convicted of killing Jam Master Jay was literally at the funeral of Jam Master Jay. And he said Biggie and Tupac murders could be solved. He said it. He said people know who did it. And it definitely could be solved. But this whole hip hop thing, now that I think about it, this thing had to be some like government psyop or something. Like this whole hip hop thing, because it got hip hop, it got infiltrated. And what's one way to influence young impressionable lives? Music. And that's what they were doing. They were trying to influence people. See, I knew it was just entertainment. If you glorify drug dealing and stuff, I'm not going to go out there and do that. But it's just music to me. But some people are influenced. Like this music they listen to now, this bang 'em up, shoot 'em up music, drill music. It's influencing people, man. This thing is getting crazy, it seemed like. Let me tell you another murder that can get solved. The murder that we were just talking about out there in Mississippi, that was a murder. I know it was. But the thing is, are they going to have somebody come forward to tell the truth? Because a lot of people witnessed it. That's what I believe. It was a murder. It happened on a boat. A lot of people witnessed it. They did not throw him in the water. Watch this. That autopsy is going to show that he wasn't in the water that long, because that's what the Cajun military guy said in his report. The body wasn't in the water that long. So what do you mean the body wasn't in the water that long? He was missing since July 4th. They didn't find him till July 6th. That's over 48 hours. So what you mean the body? They said it wasn't in the body wasn't in the water that long. I mean, he was placed there. That's what happened. There's so many people that'll get arrested for this, and there's so many people who are down with the conspiracy. This will bring Mississippi down. This one case potentially could bring Mississippi down. That's why I'm thinking that there's some work going on behind the scenes now to make sure this go away. And here's my other prediction for Nolan's relatives. They have to move. or they'll eventually somebody do something to them. They'll just have an unfortunate accident. I've seen the play happen before. They need to move. That's just my opinion on it. They have to move, baby. They got to move. Nah, they don't. You mean text message and DM from back in the day? Nah, that's not possible. They don't have it. Nope. You talking about Tupac and them? Nah, that's not happening. It wasn't like it is now with how the data is. It's not the same. Technology, they were able to get people with that within the past 20 years. Within the past, not 20 years, past, I would say 12 years, it's been like a thing. It wasn't like that in the 90s. The only video we have of Biggie shooting was these people that was filming across the street when Biggie was getting in the car, and they kept filming and you heard the gunshots. No, you didn't hear the gunshots. You heard that, oh shoot, somebody just got shot. They shot Big. Now there was a eyewitness. I never forget this. There was an eyewitness report on the news. This lady, white lady, she said she saw what happened. She said the person got up and got right in the helicopter. She said that, but you can't find that video on YouTube anymore. Or of an innocent bystander giving her recollection on the Tupac shooting. You can't find it. It was a white lady. She said it. She was a visitor there. She said she saw it. He got out the car, went right in the helicopter, and they took him off. She didn't say they carried him off. He walked off. That's what she said. That's why Tupac is like a really like conspiracy, because some people still think he's still alive. I don't think so. I think he passed. But anyway, guys, let me get out of here. Thank you guys for the conversation. I just want to talk about that with Keefe D, since his jury selection is going on. And I wanted to give you guys in the beginning what to look out for. Because a lot of people seem to think, well, he didn't, how are they going to tell that he pulled the trigger? They don't have to tell that. They don't have to prove that to the jury. They just have to prove that he procured the killing, help set everything up. That's all they have to prove. And by his own admission, he said he was. But the fact that matters is the jury going to believe him or not? Or do they going to believe he was embellishing the story? I guarantee they're going to convict him. So Keefe D now is on the eve of being found guilty of the murder, death of Tupac Amaru Shakur. Tupac Amaru Shakur. Tupac Amaru Shakur. But anyway, I'm out of here, guys. I will talk to y'all a little later. All right, y'all.